Guy Barack Hussein Obama is in favor of homosexual marriage, which, as you well know, 90% of Americans oppose. 17 states voted on it, and they said no, but if you ask the foaming maniacs in the media, they'll tell you Obama is this, Obama is that. He stands against everything the American people believe in. He is owned lock, stock, and barrel by various interest groups, not the least of which is the homosexual mafia. They're amongst the first to raise millions of dollars for his campaign. The Hollywood zillionaires who are gay raised millions of dollars for him and kicked off his campaign, and he's paying him back now. So Senator Barack Hussein Obama says that the Sermon on the Mount justifies same-sex unions. And he said that his position in favor of abortion does not make him less Christian. Well, that would be like Hitler saying putting Jews into the oven doesn't make him less of a humane man. But how far can you twist the language? You mean the Bible says it's okay to terminate a baby's life? Where does the Bible say it's okay to terminate the life of an unborn child? Can someone find that in the Bible? And where in the Bible does it say that you should marry a man with a man? Where does it say that? But I'm screaming like, I'm like a man alone in the wilderness. I'm screaming out to myself. The garbage man's son wouldn't ask him this. That's Tim Russer. The seltzer man's son, that would be Wolf Blitzer, wouldn't ask him that. I can go down the list. I don't want to do that. I really don't want to go. How can he say these things and get away with it? So this is who the Obama is, the Barack Hussein Obama is. To use the Sermon on the Mount to justify legal recognition of homosexual marriage. This is astounding to me. That would be like saying, I've thought about this. I've heard homosexual radicals say, why does who I love affect you if you're not gay? It's a very compelling statement until you think about it. So let me see if I understand that. If somebody picks up a heroin needle and injects it into their vein, they could say to me, why does what I do with a heroin injection have anything to do with you? The answer, sir, is because it causes social devastation for men to mock marriage with other men. You understand that when Donald marries Harry, the duck, there are no baby ducklings. And so, therefore, you have aborted nature. You have perverted nature. That's where the word perversion comes from. If you want to strip it of its moral connotation, the word perversion means just what I said to you. How many times do I have to tell you the same thing? Take your children to a duck pond, and you'll see animals that bond for life. It's actually beautiful to see how much more advanced they are than us. Somehow they're not I don't know how they do it. They meet one, that's it. They quack around with each other. And they make little baby ducklings, and they raise them. They don't turn them over to somebody else. But it's a Donald and a Daisy Duck. That's why the Walt Disney fable was so beautiful for children. It wasn't Donald and Harry. It wasn't Daisy and Doris. It was Donald and Daisy. And that's why all people of sanity understand the travesty and the abomination of homosexual marriage. Now, normally this would have killed anyone else's campaign to come up with such a screaming lie like this, to say that I'm going to justify homosexual marriage because I believe in the Sermon on the Mount by Jesus Christ. That's what Barack Hussein Obama, that would have eliminated anybody else in the campaign, but because he is so powerful, because he's untouchable, because, let us say, he's not a white male, he can get away with anything he says. And on the subject of abortion, it gets worse. On his support for abortion does not trespass on his Christian faith. What a scream that is. I think the bottom line is that in the end, I think women in consultation with their pastors and their doctors and their family are in a better position to make these decisions than some bureaucrat in Washington. That's my view, Obama said about abortion. Well, he may as well be reading from one of the radical feminist abortion mill owners. Again, I respect people who may disagree. You mean you're that cavalier about disagree? It's life and death, honey. It's not about disagreement, it's life and death. But I don't think it makes me less Christian, okay? Oh, it does make you less Christian. It certainly does. You're a terrifying man, Obama. You're a man without a soul. In fact, I outed this man on Friday because I found out where he's getting his lines from. I'm the only one in America who stumbled upon it. I should say my producer, Beowulf, did. We found a piece from a 1948 movie called All the King's Men, the original version, not the tepid, nauseatingly horrendous movie with Sean Penn. I've never seen such a bad movie. I watched 5 minutes of it the other night. I couldn't believe it. Sean Penn's a good actor. He just happens to be a political infant, and a predictable political infant. But the Sean Penn version of Huey Long was a disaster. Horrible. But the original one with Broderick Crawford, and then listen to the Broderick Crawford piece, and then I want you to hear how eerily Obama steals not only the lines of promising you hope, but the very words themselves from this 48 movie. Listen.
This much I swear to you. These things you shall have. I'm going to build a hospital. The biggest money can buy. And it will belong to you. That any man, woman, or child who is sick or in pain can go through those doors and know that everything will be done for them that man can do. To heal sickness. To ease pain. Free. Not as a charity. But as a right. And it is your right. Do you hear me? It is your right. And it is your right that every child should have a complete education. That any man who produces anything can take it to market without paying toll. And no poor man's land or farm can be taxed or taken away from him. And it is the right of the people that they shall not be deprived of hope.
I'll be a president who ends the tax breaks for companies that ship our jobs overseas and put a middle-class tax cut into the pockets of working Americans who deserve it. I'll be a president who harnesses the ingenuity of farmers and scientists and entrepreneurs.
You get the picture. Somebody has been playing all the king's men for Barack Hussein Obama. And I'm the only one in the media who caught it. But then again, if you've got tens of millions of fools, liberal morons, who consider themselves educated, who actually still believe that the so-called global warming is anthropogenic in origin, meaning that it's man-caused, even though we've had the coldest winter on record, and over 100 years it's colder, and even though the Arctic ice pack has re-solidified, despite all the evidence to the contrary, the psychos are still screaming about global warming. Screaming about it because they've invested so much money in the big lie. They can't let it go. Same with Obama. It's the same mindset. They're insane. Liberalism is a mental disorder. So at this point, I'm going to just simply take I know I'm not alone. I understand that. I would suspect that there are probably 30 million people who see the world the way I do. But we're in a country of over 300 million in a world of 5 billion. We're outnumbered. We are in a very precarious situation. When you take a look at who has been flooded into this country, and if you think it's by accident, you're mistaken. And if you think it's Americans won't do, you're even more naive than I think. Do you think they flooded this country with people in turbans and speaking foreign languages who don't even want to speak English? Do you think they brought all these people into this country simply to work? You're mistaken, my friend. They brought it in to break the back of the America that your father gave you on a silver platter, and you gave it away because you let one administration after another steal your country from you. You could say I did as well, but I would argue that I tried my best. I have failed, I admit it. For 15 straight years, I have given you sermons on the savage nation, 3 hours a day. Some days I didn't think I could go on. Some days I did not want to go on. Some days I was too tired to carry the burden. Some days I felt like curling up in a ball and never being heard from again. But I soldiered on because I knew it was important to do. So here I am, 15 years later, this March, and George Bush has turned out to be the greatest deceiver in the history of the presidency, the biggest liberal in the history of the presidency. He has flooded America with tens of millions of illegal aliens. After 15 years of Clinton-Bush, look where we are in the United States of America. You go into the Motor Vehicle Bureau, and you're a stranger in a strange land. I thought I was in a sort of a fun house on LSD, where most of the people were either from Tijuana or Calcutta, but I was no longer in the United States of America. And I predicted in Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, I said, I hope I'm wrong. I'm going to read it to you. It was under Supersizing Iran. I'm going to read you the exact words I wrote several years ago to show you. This was published in 05. I wrote it in 04. I'll read it to you. Supersizing Iran. The Iraqi Shiites, whose allegiances are closer to Iran, the center of the Shia Islamic sect, are real happy now because we've defeated the Sunnis under Saddam Hussein, who had controlled Iraq. With this war, we've suddenly tilted the balance of power toward the Shiites. We've handed them a victory that they were unable to achieve on their own. Naturally, the Shiites are acting all smiley and as if they're our big friends, right? Do you think they will suddenly forget their religion? Do you think they will forget the Sunni oppression? Do you think they've forgotten that we didn't get rid of Saddam back in '92? The minute the Shiites win control, I fear they'll kick us out and rule with an iron heel. That's what I feared? Well, it happened.